Nintendo faces backlash as Nintendo Switch 2 Breakdown reveals the same Joy-Con components with the same drift issue. Damn, that's crazy.
The Nintendo Switch 2, it is finally out, ladies and gentlemen, and I've got one with me right here. I've been playing it the last few days, and look, as a device...
I cannot wait for there to be stick drift issues again, man. I cannot wait.
From a pure hardware standpoint, it is a really great sequel to the Nintendo Switch 1.
Not really. It's like, it's kind of like all right, but it's nothing super crazy.
Sequel should be. It's bigger, it's better. I love the bigger screen. I love the premium feel. I love the way the Joy-Cons attach and detach magnetically. The games play well on it. The fact that Switch 1 games run better on this if they're updated, that's really great. Uncapped frame rate games just straight up run better on the Switch 2. And it is a great piece of hardware. It's got, you know, a good selection of games at launch. I think it still needs more games. Like,
not really. The only new game at launch is the new Mario Kart. Like, all the other games, you've already had them. You just gotta pay it again, you know? There's not really any new games. The only new games that the Nintendo Switch has, the Nintendo Switch 2 has, is Mario Kart World Tour and the and that freaking Nintendo tutorial thing.
Like Mario Kart, if you're not into that, there's not as much. I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for, just for more of those like console seller games. But overall, like, it is a great device. But
it is an okay device. I'm just trying to correct him. It's not great. It's just okay.
With all that said, there are elements of the Switch 2 that are not ideal. The fact that Nintendo kickstarted the $80 era of AAA games, the fact that game key cards are a thing at all, basically physical releases that don't have the data in them. And then there is the potential of Joy-Con drift. Recall that back in April 7th of 2025, prior to the Switch 2's launch, Nintendo Life confirmed with Nintendo that the Joy-Cons on the Switch 2 will not have Hall effect sticks. What that means is that people were fearing that we might be looking at a similar situation to the Switch 1, where Joy-Con drift would be a prominent issue. They did say, however, that they have designed the Joy-Con 2 controllers from the ground up, but they did not confirm or deny whether drift would be an issue. Drift was just not something that they mentioned, even though that's clearly why the question of, like, are these Hall effect sticks were asked. And Nintendo has chosen to just, like, not address the issue at all prior to release.
Crazy.
Now, Joy-Con drift, for those who don't know, is an issue that is caused by wear on the thumbstick's internal carbon fiber contact pads, as well as buildup of internal debris that causes the analog sticks to not function properly. They register input when they shouldn't, and that is such a prominent issue with the Switch 1 that, I mean, it's led to a bunch of lawsuits. It's forced Nintendo to apologize. They've had to set up a program where you get Joy-Con replacements for free. And the hope was that this whole, like, well, we built the Joy-Con 2s from the ground up, would on some level indicate that they really did try to resolve the Joy-Con drift issue, even if they are not Hall effect sticks, that somehow they managed to find some kind of solution that at least would improve upon that.
Now these
but
day and
Nintendo is still yet to address that issue. And now that the Nintendo Switch 2 is out, we've got folks like iFixit here kind of breaking down the internals of the Nintendo Switch 2, including the Joy-Cons, and what they've discovered is that it's basically the same situation. The way the sticks work is exactly the same as the Switch 1, and so the chances of you getting Joy-Con drift are very high. Here's how iFixit put it in this video.
Nintendo says the new Switch 2 Joy-Cons are better, but did they fix drift? To find out, I'm tearing them down. These things are fussy to take apart. To start with, you need a special driver for Nintendo's signature tri-point screws. Then dig under the adhesive secured panels for more screws.
And what sucks is that repairability on the Switch 2 is not great.
And some isopropyl alcohol. I had to call in the cavalry to figure out how to pry off the shoulder trigger.
Like, you need an expert to
There's a trick.
put this apart and fix it.
A couple of clips on the stick housing, and hey presto, the stick is out. Finally. As I open the joystick housing, I'm starting to lose hope. To fix the drift problem, Nintendo would need to use a different kind of sensor than in the original Switch. Potentiometers just won't do. Most modern joysticks use a potentiometer to read the voltage as a wiper that slides across a strip of resistive material. That material wears down over time, or plastic and dust can dirty the sensors. It is possible to make better joysticks. Hall effect and TMR sticks are both drift resistant. But oh, that's right, Joy-Cons attach with magnets. that'll interfere with the Hall effect sensor. TMR is far more resistant to magnetic interference, so maybe? Nope, these joysticks look almost exactly like the old sticks.
Damn, that's crazy.
Same drifty sensors, just a slightly different form factor. Lame. For now, maybe just drive a little gently and stay tuned.
So yeah, that's basically the rundown. There are solutions that make it so that the joysticks having drift is much less likely. There's a Hall effect route, though, of course, given the magnetic nature of the Joy-Con attachments, that may be less of a possibility because magnets might interfere. Hall effect, for those who don't know, they rely on magnets, and we got magnets close to each other, it can interfere with each other. But then you've got other solutions mentioned here that are a possibility, but Nintendo, it didn't seem like they really tried to resolve this issue for customers, and they're leaving it to customers to essentially send the Switch 2 Joy-Cons in. Nintendo is offering free replacements for drifting Joy-Con 2 controllers, as stated here by Digzerto, which also highlighted that they include the same parts. They also drift, and you can see that this social media post went viral with people just really being baffled that Nintendo would not,
Y'all paid $450 for an obsolete tech. Congrats, you played yourself. The hype, the anticipation, it's like a quantum computer is coming out. Wow, Nintendo is out. Come on, guys, you can't live without it. It's like oxygen. Can't you feel it? The need it, the need for switch. What do you mean switch? You mean switch? No, okay, then stick to the Steam Deck and infinite libraries of human prices. I don't feel sorry for anyone who bought this day one. Spend or waste your money however you want. True. Another reason I don't buy the first generation of something new right off. And remember, kids, the new TOS they recently announced specifically stated you can't do a class action about this. True. You got to be kidding me. Stick drift is apparent in almost every type of controller nowadays. I guess this isn't going away. What garbage are they making these with? This shit didn't exist back in the day.
After all these years and after all the trouble that they went through trying to mitigate the PR nightmare that this was, that they wouldn't make any attempt to really resolve this issue. So the bafflement in the comment section is, pretty sky high. But yeah, Nintendo is offering replacements. You can see right here that Nintendo posted the following screenshot highlighting this program where you can send a replacement in and they'll do so for free. But the thing is, they're putting the onus and the trouble on the consumers because Nintendo refused to take the trouble.
Pay us more money. We'll fix your controller. Send it over. We'll just pay us more money. Smart idea. That's a smart business tactic, Sell the same shit, but just make it bigger, but not fix any of the problems, but then open up a program to say, hey, if you still got stick drift, just send it back to us and we'll fix it for you, You just pay us for it.
Of really resolving this issue. So if you send this in and you kind of try to repair your Joy-Cons through Nintendo, yes, it won't cost you, but it will be an estimated turnaround of around 8 to 14 business days from the time you ship.
Oh, it won't cost you anything? Damn, I'm kind of surprised. I thought I was expecting Nintendo to kind of con you guys for money. Do the hustle. But 8 to 14 business days. 8 to 14 days of you not playing your Nintendo Switch. Oh no, the agony. How can my favorite YouTuber make his content without the Nintendo Switch?
Your product. So that is a lot of days where you're left with a Switch 2 that is not functional unless you have an additional pair of Joy-Cons or unless you have like a Pro controller and you decide to play your Switch on your TV in the living room environment. But if you want to take it on the go, you do need the Joy-Cons. And so the fact that you have to wait that long because Nintendo refused to resolve the issue outright or mitigate it enough where this won't be a prominent issue, it's just something that obviously is not sitting well with a lot of people. It means that while we won't hear about Joy-Con drift for a while, over time, as they start wearing down, in a year or two, we'll probably start hearing mass reports of Joy-Con drift. There's already research about how prominent Nintendo Switch 1's Joy-Con drift issues were, with this research from which.co.uk highlighting how 40% of Nintendo Switch owners have suffered persistent Joy-Con drift problems. And keep in mind that with the Switch 2, Joy-Cons are much more expensive than Switch 1 Joy-Cons. They're already more expensive than Switch 1 Joy-Cons when they were announced, but then that price point went up post-announcement because of the tariffs, and so they're $95 a pair. And the thing about going through a Nintendo service to repair your Joy-Cons is that it's just a lot of trouble on the consumer's end, which is why you'll see right here in this research that half of the owners told us they didn't contact Nintendo for help for whatever reason, and instead shelled out for new Joy-Con controllers to fix the issue. It's also worth mentioning that Nintendo's free service repair is not something that's widely advertised, so you know, people who are into gaming news will know about this stuff, but your average Joe may not even know that this service exists. So as far as they know, their Joy-Cons broke and they have to get new ones, or they're going to be folks out there who don't want to wait, you know, like 2 weeks to not be able to play their Switch 2 and just prefer to go out to a store and just get a second pair of Joy-Cons instead of...
Man, that's some loser behavior. If you can't wait for 2 weeks or so for your Nintendo's Joy-Cons to come back, you're I don't know what to say about you.
Going through
I don't even know what
because
to say about
spending
you.
$95 is less trouble. There's a negligence there of them not taking this issue as seriously as they should that is just baffling with this sequel to the Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm hoping that there's some R&D going on where down the line they'll release new versions of the Switch 2 Joy-Cons that are more tenable than what will potentially be a major issue down the line. This research also shows that not everyone managed to get free repairs or free replacements. Of those who did contact Nintendo for a fix, 1 in 5 did not receive a free repair or replacement, said.
Never mind, they did start conning people. Never mind, I take my statement back.
Of Joy-Cons for whatever reason. So even if you do send in your Joy-Con 2s for repair, for whatever reason, Nintendo might decide that you're not eligible for repairs or for replacements. Yeah, it'll seem for a minute like everything's honky-dory because it takes a while for the Joy-Con 2's analog sticks to break down and to show that wear and tear that leads to drift. But as research here shows, well over 57% of Switch owners said that the drift problems occurred in the first year of owning the game console. So I get the feeling that by next year, around this time, this is when we'll start hearing about people complaining about these drift issues, and that's when this will once again become a problem for Nintendo and for consumers alike. It's also worth highlighting that this free replacement program is only for the United States and certain regions. There are other regions who don't necessarily get this treatment, so US folks will be okay on that front, but for a lot of other regions where Joy-Con 2s are just as expensive, if not more, they're fucked if this issue persists. And it will, because it's literally the same mechanism as the Switch 1. And during the Switch 1 era, we saw that even years after the Switch 1's launch, Joy-Con drift issues persisted. It was still a huge problem. And I mean, the amount of lawsuits that Nintendo faced from the US, from Europe, from Canada, so on and so forth, it was substantial, and I feel like Nintendo's just inviting for that to happen all over again. Right here we have an article from IGN from back in February of 2021 detailing the myriad lawsuits that they were facing across the world, around the world, from both big firms and small families. And so it is baffling to me. It is genuinely unbelievable to me that the Joy-Con drift issue still persists, and Nintendo knew about it, but they decided that it was less trouble to let consumers deal with it than for Nintendo to deal with it. But, I mean, once this does start to become a prominent issue a year or more down the line, I mean, it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. So, better to resolve it now. Instead, you know, they're selling these for $95 a pop.
Remember, when you sign that new agreement from Nintendo, you can't sue them. You cannot. So, I'm just saying.
And essentially, the wear and tear means that this is essentially like a subscription. Every year or two, you have to pay $95 for your ability to be able to input on your Nintendo Switch 2 through your Joy-Cons, because they have an expiration date, essentially, a really unreasonable expiration date. And so that's just something worth keeping in mind. But even then, that's not stopping Nintendo Switch 2 from selling incredibly well, as expected, because the appeal of the Nintendo Switch 2 is there. And again, for the most part, it is a great piece of hardware that offers a really compelling...
It is an okay piece of hardware. Sorry, I just need to interrupt him every single time he says that.
Proposition for gamers with a lot of hardware prowess that allows a lot of great games to be played at high fidelity and with great performance on the go. It's really cool stuff, but all the qualms that, have been mentioned about the Nintendo Switch 2 prior and post-launch are worth highlighting so you make an informed decision about all this. But yeah, for those who don't know, the Nintendo Switch 2 is breaking records. It sold 3 million units in the first 24 hours, and the last console to achieve a record was the PlayStation 4, and it came nowhere close to what the Nintendo Switch 2 just achieved. The PS4 launched to 1 million units sold worldwide within the first 24 hours. Nintendo Switch 2 did triple that in the first 24 hours. So that is pretty insane. And so there's no slowing down on this console. And generally, it looks like this appeal of the Nintendo Switch 2 is pretty widespread. But just know what you're getting into, and with Nintendo not allowing for early Switch 2 reviews, the fact that this information wasn't known until after launch because Nintendo decided that they don't want to do a pre-launch review program for people to be fully informed about what they're buying. That also makes this doubly scummy because they kept people in the dark, consumers in the dark, and had them pre-order the Switch 2 on hype without allowing them to be fully informed on all of these things that they would have been informed on if Nintendo had sent out units for breakdowns like these to happen and for information to be released before launch so that people could understand exactly what it is they're buying, what are the pros and the cons, and the Joy-Con drift issue potentially being something that's going to become prominent a year down the line. That is a pretty major con, for people who can't afford to spend $95 a year or whatever, or $95 every time their Joy-Cons break down. That is something that is worthy of consideration, and we only know now after launch, after 3 million people bought the Switch 2, not knowing this information. But now we know, and so I'm just putting that out there so that you know for sure what it is you're getting into, and hopefully, we get some kind of, Joy-Con 2 refresh, or somebody comes up with a third-party solution, whatever it is that implements a joystick solution that is not prone to the Joy-Con drift that
renders. And then Nintendo will probably shut down that third-party company.
These Joy-Cons useless when those issues crop up. But that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the Nintendo.
I'm just gonna wait for the console to get cracked and play Nintendo Switch 3 games on my PC. Nintendo 3 Switch 3? Does it mean Switch 2? Well, Nintendo. Well, the Switch 2 has already been hacked already. So just letting you know, it's already been hacked. Less than like 5 hours. So there's already a video about it already surfacing on the web. Damn, we're on the Switch 3 already? I know, we're already on the Switch 3? I didn't even know about that. Shit, damn, Nintendo Switch 2 didn't even last that long, huh? That's crazy. That's wild and out there. Anyways, yeah. Hey, like I said, bro. Hey, man, you guys paid $450 for that, so... Hey, that's it is what it is. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. But yeah, that's pretty cool, Bye-bye, Kick. I know. Bye-bye, YouTube frogs. Bye-bye to our grand old community over there. But yeah, I'm not spending money on this. I'm voting with my wallet 1000%. I don't even have a Switch. All I have is just a PS Vita over there that I haven't even bothered, cracking it, jailbreak it, which I should probably do that, to be honest, so I can play some games on it. And yeah, interesting. What an interesting time. Hey man, whatever, man, you do what you want to do. It's your money at the end of the day. But I'm just gonna laugh at you. That's it, man. Just gonna laugh at you. Steam Deck is great. Anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace.